Greetings and welcome to the February OCF Christian Fellowship Luncheon of Houston, Texas. Today we have Mike Dohrman, co-founder of the Lafayette OCF Christian Fellowship chapter that recently started back up again in January of 2024. Here he is to tell his story. Thank you.
I was saved at a young age, probably about 12 years old, and I was baptized at 14. And you know how you can have those one fond memories of different things, and just certain things that stick out in your head. There was a guy by the name of Marvin Zindler that used to do the reporting. And I can remember coming out, and I had my change of clothes and everything, and there's Marvin Zindler. And the first thing that came out of my mouth is, "Slime in the ice machine." I'm 14 years old, and I got him to say it. That was one of the best moments of my life. I do want to start out with saying that I was raised with my mom in the church. She took me to church on Sundays, and she played the piano. I spent my summers in Arkansas with my grandparents, and my grandmother took me to church every Sunday. But I must have been a little wild because I went to the place in Arkansas called Hot Springs Village. Hot Springs Village is a pretty large place that my grandparents stayed at. And my grandmother would put me in every vacation Bible school there was in Hot Springs Village. And whenever I was telling my mom that this morning, I told her, and I was trying to give her some credit. And we looked up a verse, Proverbs 22:6, and it said, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." And I kept telling Mom, I said, "Mom, you did good. You did so good today." I was trying to reassure her. And my mom's response to the whole thing was, "Well, that means that you're old." And I am, guys. I really am. And it's the experiences that I've had in life that I want to share a little bit with you today. There's so many things that go through my head, and I'll try not to be the My Pillow guy today and keep rambling on. I do have Keith Jeremy and Deborah Ducote with me that have been a real big inspiration in my life. Again, I grew up here. I went to Eisenhower High School. I spent my summers up in Arkansas, and in reflection to that, I always tell everybody I've got an Arkansas education, and there's a way that I got to Arkansas education. So when I was in high school, the only thing that I passed my freshman year was football and Texas history. My dad thought it was just, "Hey, that's fine. I mean, what else do you need?" Well, Mom didn't think the same way. In my sophomore year, I was failing everything. I was failing everything. I was in a school that had a graduating class of 800 people. And my freshman year, I became lifeguard certified. I go up there and I went to all the vacation Bible schools, and Grandpa got me a job as a lifeguard, and I got to meet everybody up there. And in transition of that, my sophomore year, my mom says, "Why don't you transfer and go up to Arkansas and finish your schooling out there?" I went from a classroom of like 40 and 50 people to a classroom of 5 and 6 people and things of that nature. It was a big part of my life as far as a culture shock of going to Eisenhower High School and then going to little bitty 1A school, Jesseville, Arkansas. So if you ever hear references of me saying that I've got an Arkansas education, I'm very proud of it too, at the same way, as far as how I got there. Talking about the Oilfield Christian Fellowship, that's another thing, and I might bounce around a little bit on this because I wrote down a whole speech, and I got up this morning, and it was more about God telling me to tell more about my story to you guys. My parents, my grandparents, the people that I work with have been a big influence in my life. I had a good young childhood growing up, and I worked for Acme Truck Line for the last 22 years. And through that, the people that have been surrounded with me have helped me through a lot of different trials in my life. I've always known Christ, going through all the vacation Bible schools. My grandmother, I had to sleep in her room at night because Grandpa snored, And she would make me read the Bible to her every night. Every night. And I read the King James Version to her every night. Not saying I understood what I was reading, but I read the King James. I understood thou shalt not. I heard a lot of thou shalt nots. Grandma did instill that into me. But I read that Bible every night to her. And I tell you what, that's a fond memory of Grandma doing that portion of it. When I went into Acme Truck Line, and I'm gonna skip over a little bit. I went to Acme Truck Line back in '01. I formed a lot of friendships and a lot of bonds with people. And it's the people that God puts in your life that you don't realize it until afterwards. Mom has told me in the past, you have to live it forward to understand it backwards. And that's something, writing this, I mean, I had like 5 pages of writing stuff down. And then it was just kind of understanding this morning, talking to Mom and her telling me I'm old, and just going through that whole process of understanding that the last 3 years of my life that I've had, the journey that I've been on, from losing my brother on March 29th, which is my birthday, and then a year and a half later, losing my dad to cancer, and then a year later, going through a separation and a divorce and losing my marriage. I've seen a lot of things, and I've realized that I've had a lot of people in my life to be thankful for. I've also learned a lot about prayer and how prayer is important. I've had this one verse that I've been reading, and that's another thing. I don't read the Bible. I mean, I do read the Bible now, but the only time that I read the Bible before was whenever my grandmother was telling me to read the Bible. Over this last year in 23, going through this separation and this divorce, I had to find something to get me back in the groove. And God was speaking to me. And I don't read. I mean, honestly, I don't read. I read the newspaper, I read articles and things of that nature. And through the Holy Spirit, I read the whole New Testament during my separation. After I got done with that, I wanted more. And I had a guy that worked with me called Mackie Francis. And he was going to a church, and I ended up wanting to go to that church too. So I told Mackie, I said, Mackie, what time do you go to church? Or what times are the services? And I can never forget that he told me 9:30. I said, well, I like to go to the 8 o'clock service. And I'll be honest with you, I like to go to the 8 o'clock service because it's quicker. They sing 2 songs instead of 4 songs, and we get to the word quicker on that. So we ended up going to the 8 o'clock service. And we met. I saw Mackie walking into the church service, and we met another man that I met earlier, walking in there, and his name's Shane Rayleigh. And that ended up being one of the bonds right there, and how God works with you. That ended up being the foundation of the starting point for OCF over in Lafayette. It also broke out into Shane's wife and Mackie and me, starting up a small groups and a Bible study from this too. All this stems from just me realizing how much God has put different people in my life, but also the upbringing that my parents gave me at the same time. That's things that you can instill with other people, and I can see you guys in the crowd as far as, you guys probably have, and ladies probably have kids, grandkids, that you can instill this with. And just looking back, I didn't realize all the stuff that I need to be thankful for. Through death, through losses, I never lost Jesus Christ. I never lost God being right beside me. And then having the one scripture that I've been finding very, very comforting in the morning is the armor of God, Ephesians 6:13 through 20. But the one thing that on that portion of it is emphasis on 19, where it says, pray also for me that whenever I speak words may be given me, so that I will fearlessly make known the mystery of the gospel. this is the first time I can do a conference call or a sales call or something of that nature. This type of setting I'm not used to. I'm used to giving numbers, giving reports and things of that nature. I mean, I got up here, I'm excited, but when I got up here, I started getting a little nervous. But that's why God puts people around you, and God empowers you through that. Ecclesiastes 4:13, through one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. And that's where I've always had other people in my life to help me through different things. The way Oilfield Christian Fellowship started too, John mentioned it a little bit, and it's a good story, because one of the things that one of my mentors, probably one of my key mentors with Acme Truck Line, told me always can revolve your sales around food. And cook-offs are really prominent over here in Texas. So there was a thing called the F5 in Humble. And doing the normal scan of seeing the different booths that are there, who am I going to go network today with? Really, I'm looking at what are they serving, what are they feeding us. I saw OCF, and I remembered a little portion of, man, I want to get back into that. I mean, I'm reading the Word, I'm going back to church, I got a good group of guys that are around me. I want to go by, and I want to thank OCF for the different experiences that I've had, because I've got a whole nother subject with that, and one of our guest speakers is going to be Vern Pomazano, and I just have to do that every time I say Pomazano, because it just comes out like that. And one of the things that he did was that he gave several different studies or lessons on the Virgin Mary, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, the birth of Jesus Christ. But one of the most powerful messages that he gave me was about the Bible. And that right there, reading the Bible, understanding the Bible, that helped me out a lot. And then it helped me out a lot to put a spin on it, to be able to talk to non-believers too. Reading the Bible every morning has been a stronghold in my life. And I got to go back to my grandma, making me read it every night. But now, seeing the stories as a 12-year-old compared to a 51-year-old is totally different. I mean, it was all bright and bushy, but there's a reason why they say a God-fearing man. God has worked with me so much over the last year. Going through a separation, going through a divorce, coming out of it, being married for 20 years, and then coming out of it and stepping into this world after 20 years of marriage, it can be eye-opening. It can be unreally eye-opening. And having the people that surrounded me, you always want somebody, at least me, I've always wanted somebody that has lived it. I'm good at you showing me hands-on, explaining things to me. And the group of people, whether they know it or not, have helped me out so much because they've lived it. They can tell me, I'll throw an idea out there, whether it's business, whether it's personal, whatever it may be. I can throw an idea out there, and they can tell me yay or nay because they've already lived it. And they've kept me out of a lot of situations coming out of this divorce and trying to walk the right path with God and trying to be a good father to my daughter. God does have jokes, because I can remember the last time I was single, over 20 years ago. I swore up and down, I'm not going to get involved with a woman that already has a child. That's not going to happen. So I ended up marrying Mitzi, and Alana was already 3.5 years old. And that little girl is my pride and joy right there. She's building a house now. She's a nurse. And she gave me confirmation last week saying, Dad, I want to experience what you're experiencing. She's seeing the difference in me. And I can contribute that to reading the Bible every morning, trying to read the Bible every morning. Every now and then there is those days when I do. That's why I'm on a 5-day reading plan. You can kind of get 2 days off on that. Finishing that up, meeting the 3 guys that have started this, and the one woman, because you always have to have a woman kind of keep us all in line over there in Lafayette. Talking to John, it was really fun coming up here because he didn't recognize me, and we prayed about it that one night over there at the barbecue cook-off, and looking it up and seeing that screenshot that said Lafayette chapter on hiatus, looking for a leadership group. You get that gut feeling. Yeah, and I can't explain it. I mean, it's kind of like your heart gets weak, maybe. And I said to myself, man, I'm pretty well connected. I know some guys. Maybe I'll get a hand in this. I know Mackey's going to help me. So I called up Mackey. He said, find out some more information about it. I came over. Mike Chafin, John Bird prayed for me. Power of prayer. Come back. I talked to Mackey. Mackey talks to Shane. We say, we got this. We're going to start this up. We know some people. But man, we need somebody that's going to be able to mentor us. We haven't really done this type of thing. So you know how you pray for things all the time, and I'll keep telling you about prayer? I met Mike Francis when he was, first time I met Mike Francis, never forget it. He's public service commissioner. He's still public service commissioner, head public service commissioner for the state of Louisiana. But Mike was making an announcement that he was going to run for Secretary of State. And I got to meet this man, and the way he could work a crowd, the way he moved around from person to person, and just genuine person. And I followed him from different rallies, different Republican conventions, and I really prayed to God, Lord, this is a good man. If it's thy will, please let him be the next Secretary of State. God doesn't answer all prayers. Mike barely missed a runoff. Thank God that somebody named Landry entered the race later on. And I still think that's the reason why you lost. That's why you didn't make the runoff. But that was a godsend because you have Mackey, you have Shane, you have myself at this point. So we asked Mike, would you lead us? Would you be the president of the Lafayette chapter to get it restarted? Mike full-heartedly said, yes, I'll take on that responsibility. But Mike's been in business for a long time, and he's got a way of volunteering you things. He wanted 1-year commitment out of us, not a problem. But then he said he wanted a testimony out of us too. So I guess this is a portion of it right now. I know I'm going to be doing a lot more of these, and I'm bouncing around right now, and I will try to hone in and get back on that straight path when I do my next one. But I want to just give you the gist of how God will surround people with you. If you remain in my words, if you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you. The next line right after that is, this is to my Father's glory that you bear much fruit. Show yourself to be my disciples. That's kind of like what you do with OCF. You get the word, you go out there, and you disciple with other people. You help people with situations that they may be going through. You can be a brother, you can be a sister to that person. OCF is about Bibles, and I can see the power of reading the Bible and just getting confirmation from your daughter that you're doing the right thing, and she wants to live more like her dad. It's powerful. It's very powerful. And I'm very thankful for everything that God has given me on this. Losing my dad was tough. But finding Jesus and God to comfort me through all of this has been even better. and having the group of men that are around me, and women. Joy Provost, I tell you what, you always have to have somebody that enters the door, that greets you at the door. And Joy and I had a lot of spirited conversations about politics. She is not one that will hold her tongue when it comes to politics. But there was one time when she started talking to me about the Bible. And it was an OCF meeting that I met Vern Palmisano, and we started talking about the Bible. And those CDs that I got from him that day, I gave them to her, and it helped her out. So she was the first person I thought of whenever we started that back up again. We started that meeting up last month, and we thought to ourselves, well, we're looking at maybe 20, maybe 30 people. Mike came over. We ended up having 50 people at that first meeting. There's a lot of want out there for people to come and have meetings and to have fellowship like this, like we're having right now today. Passing that on is something that was told to me a long time ago. With that meeting that I was at OCF with Vern Palmisano, when he spoke about the Virgin Mary and just the scientific effects that they have on our proof, historical proof, evidence, it gave me a different spin to be able to talk to non-believers. And whenever I went to go pay for those CDs at the end of the meeting, the credit card machine wasn't working. The guy said, I didn't have any cash on me. The guy said, take them, pay it forward. Those CDs I still got. And then on top of that, Vern said he would be one of the guest speakers to come over to Lafayette. So I'm going to meet the guy again and introduce him to my mom and several other people that I've helped out with these CDs in a different explanation. Through this walk last year, I've had close friends that have been with me for years. One of my closest friends in Lafayette, he was always conflicted with things. And I won't forget, Mackie and I were going to have lunch, and he called us up. He called me up. I put him on speakerphone. And he said, I just want to tell you, and I can't make this stuff up just out of the blue. He goes, I want to tell you that I went to church today. Went down to talk to the deacon, and I'm going to start going again. This is a man from Guyana. You can barely understand what he says anyway. I've known him for 10 years, so if you ever talk to him and you're just smiling, shake your head, trust me, it was a godsend to hear that too. The different things that have happened over the last year. And what's happened to me, and the change in me, and having the awakening of praying that God will open my eyes and make me attentive to different things that come across, have been enlightening. I'd like to see more of this happen in the world, as far as us getting out there and us talking about it. And I tell you what, I'm in a position now where I do sales. I meet a lot of people, and God is using me in a lot of different ways. And I can't give anything but the glory to God about this. How many minutes I got? I'm good? I'm talking to you. You're the one that's got the 2 o'clock. That OCF, the OCF has done so much for me. But being able to come up here and talk about how I was raised, how I was brought up, I don't want you to think that the things that you do with your kids and your fellow co-workers are gone unnoticed. Because there are so many times in life whenever you can have that aha moment. And that aha moment for me just recently was opening up the Bible and reading those stories and understanding it from a different perspective of a 12-year-old to a 51-year-old. Life is hard. Life is really hard. But God has never left you. Once you are saved and once you have Jesus Christ as your Savior, He is always with you. He never leaves your side. And He uses other people in your life. I could give you a lot more stories, but I'm not going to, because I got to save that for another time. I got to save that for another message, because Mike Francis is going to make me say a lot more of these testimonies. But I am so thankful for the management staff of Acme Truck Line and working for them for 22 years and being supportive and helping me through that. And then the newfound friends that I have over the last year by getting more involved in reading the Bible and going back to church. And I tell you what, there's one thing, I go to church, but I didn't want to participate in small groups. What has God done to me? He's got me helping out with an OCF chapter, which is kind of like a small group. But then on top of that, He's got me going into actual small groups through the church, through the people that I met through OCF. Their wives, their husbands are starting these different ministries, these different Bible studies. Everything is connected somehow. If you just live it forward, you can understand it so much better going backwards. Again, I got an Arkansas education. I have to keep things real simple. Pictures help too. So, before I close, and we're going to make this quick. Before I close, Keith Sheremy, he's one of my biggest inspirations. If he shows you any pictures of me in a dress, I lost a bet. If he shows you pictures of me in a banana costume, that is by choice. Thank you guys for a quick minute to tell you how much that OCF and reading the Bible and my parents and my daughter and the different people that I surrounded me have meant to me. And I look forward to talking again to you guys.